I cannot breathe. I don't know where they're going. I just know I woke up in this fucking truck.
That chilling voice you just heard belonged to Arcola, NBA YoungBoy's baby mama, desperately calling for help right before her life was taken. An incident later tied to 6ix9ine. And that's not all. Trey the Truth also faced every parent's nightmare when his daughter was taken after he trusted dropping her off with her own mother. In this video, we're diving deep into shocking cases where rappers had family members kidnapped by people they should have been able to trust the most, their own relatives. First up, we're talking about Young Lay.
That your girlfriend was killed and your baby was kidnapped.
Young Lay's story hits hard. This isn't just tragic, it's straight up heartbreaking in a way that still echoes through Bay Area rap history. Back on May 17th, 1996, 17-year-old Daphne Marie Boyden, an honor student and a brand new mother, was brutally attacked inside her grandmother's home in Vallejo, California. She was shot multiple times in the head and chest in a place that was supposed to be safe. But it gets even darker. The person responsible tried to cover it all up by setting the house on fire, hoping the flames would erase the truth. As the fire spread, they walked out carrying her tiny newborn son, just 3 to 4 weeks old, LeJean de Maria Williams, and vanished into the night without a trace. Neighbors said they saw 2 teenage girls rushing away carrying a bundle in their arms, while thick smoke poured out of the windows behind them. That moment became the last confirmed sighting of baby LeJean for more than 6 long years, just gone without a trace. At that time, Young Lay was locked up, trapped behind bars with no way to act. He found out about Daphne's passing and his newborn son's disappearance while sitting in a cell, unable to search, unable to move, and completely cut off from doing anything about it. All he had left was a fragile hope, uncertain, distant, and painful, that his son might still be alive somewhere out there.
I knew my girl was gone.
Yeah.
You feel me? Gone.
What makes this case even more disturbing is who was responsible. It wasn't rivals, not enemies from the streets, but people much closer to home. The ones behind it were teenage girls, with the main figure being 15-year-old Latasha Brown. She was Young Lay's ex-girlfriend, and reports say she was overwhelmed with jealousy after Daphne gave birth to his child. For months, she had been telling people that she was the baby's mother, creating a story that wasn't real. Authorities later suggested she may have been dealing with pseudocyesis, a serious psychological condition where someone truly believes they are pregnant even when they are not. Her cousin, Oceanetta Williams, helped carry out the attack, and it didn't stop there. Latasha Brown's own mother, Dolores Ann Brown, later stepped in to help hide the child. This wasn't just a crime. It was a full cover-up involving multiple people who all played a role. For over 6 years, baby LeJean was raised just 2 miles from the place where his mother lost her life, living under a completely different identity with falsified documents as if nothing had ever happened. The case grew so intense it ended up being featured on America's Most Wanted and Unsolved Mysteries, bringing national attention to the shocking disappearance. Then in November 2002, everything changed. An anonymous tip led Vallejo police straight to Latasha Brown, who was now 22 years old, and had been raising LeJean as her own son the entire time. DNA testing confirmed the truth, and at 6 years old, LeJean was finally found and reunited with his real family in a moment that people had been hoping for but couldn't be sure would ever come.
And guess what? He called me this morning.
That's what's up.
All right, that's all I'm gonna say.
In 2004, Latasha Brown was found guilty of first-degree homicide, along with kidnapping and arson, and was sentenced to 37 years to life. Her appeal was later denied in 2006, bringing that legal chapter to an end, but not erasing the impact of what happened. Young Lay had already poured his pain into his 1998 album Unsolved Mysteries, dedicating it to his son's disappearance years before the case even made it onto the TV show with the same name. Decades later, a January 2026 TV One documentary revisited the entire story and included Young Lay's first public comments in over 25 years, bringing everything back into the spotlight. He revealed that his son had called him that morning, and honestly that was all that needed to be said. It spoke volumes without saying much at all. Now think about this next case for a second. Craig, Aiken, and Kamiya Mobley. 18 years. Not 18 days, not 18 months, but 18 full years before a father got the chance to hold his daughter for the very first time. Kamiya Mobley was born on July 10, 1998 at University Medical Center in Jacksonville, Florida, and what happened next would turn into one of the most unbelievable kidnapping cases people have ever heard. Her mother, Shanara Mobley, was only 15 years old at the time, still a teenager trying to process everything happening so fast. Her father, Craig Aiken, a local Jacksonville rapper, was behind bars on narcotics-related charges at the exact moment his daughter was born, completely unaware of what was about to unfold. Just 8 hours after baby Kamiya took her first breath, she was gone. A woman named Gloria Williams showed up wearing hospital scrubs and a floral smock, moving with the confidence of someone who clearly looked like she belonged in that maternity ward. Earlier that day, she had already built trust with the young mother, talking and blending in like everything was normal. Then just like that, she walked out of the hospital carrying the newborn in her arms as if it was nothing. Staff assumed she was family, nobody questioned it, and no alarm was raised until it was way too late to stop her.
She said, I have good news and I have bad news. I said, what's the good news? Because I'm already in jail, what can be worse than this?
Craig Aiken learned 2 life-changing things on the exact same day, all while sitting inside a jail cell. He found out he had just become a father and that his daughter had been kidnapped. When he asked the officer what the good news was first, he had no idea the answer would hit like that.
She said, your daughter Kamiya was born, 7 pounds, 8 ounces. So I asked her what the bad news was. She said, your daughter was kidnapped. As far as I knew about kidnapping, it only happened on TVs and movies. It did a lot to me because I felt like I didn't do my job to protect her or Kamiya.
Gloria Williams had just gone through a miscarriage while dealing with an abusive relationship, and instead of getting help, she made a decision that would change multiple lives forever. She took that baby to fill the emotional void, creating a reality that wasn't hers to claim. She didn't stop there. She forged documents, built a false identity, and raised Kamiya in Walterboro, South Carolina under the name Alexis Kelly Manigo for 18 straight years without interruption. For nearly 2 decades, nobody around them questioned it, and the truth stayed hidden in plain sight. Then in January 2017, everything started to fall apart. Kamiya turned 18 and tried to apply for a job that required official identification, but Williams refused to provide the documents, and that's when the story began to crack open. A tip reached investigators. DNA testing was done, and it confirmed everything. She was alive, she was safe, and after all those years, she was finally going home.
I don't know, it was like breathtaking. Like, I swear she looked to me like Shannara. She just looked beautiful.
In June 2018, Williams was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Later in 2022, a motion to reduce her sentence was denied, keeping that decision in place. Craig Aiken later expressed his journey through music, releasing a video titled Self-Therapy, featuring his daughter as part of their healing process. Their story also reached the screen in the 2020 Lifetime film Stolen by My Mother, the Kamiya Mobley story, showing how she was taken from a hospital room within just 8 hours of her birth, and 18 years later, she made it back home. Trey the Truth. His name carries real weight in Houston, not just in music, but in the community too. This is someone who shows up when it matters, driving food trucks into disaster zones, giving out toys during Christmas with his own money, and helping people without looking for attention or credit. He built his reputation on protecting others, especially those who couldn't protect themselves. Time after time, he stepped in for people in need, no matter the cost, no matter the spotlight. But in the summer of 2024, everything flipped in a way nobody expected. The same man who spent years looking out for everyone else suddenly found himself in a situation where he couldn't control what mattered most. Trey had full legal and primary physical custody of his 6-year-old daughter, Truth Thompson, after going through years of custody battles with her mother, Heather Cuevas, who only had limited weekend visits and some time during the summer. On August 16, 2024, he dropped Truth off for what was supposed to be a normal scheduled weekend visit. He hugged her, kissed her, and told her he'd see her on Sunday like always. But Sunday came, and she never came back. She left everything behind. Her apartment, her vehicles, every phone line, cut off like it never existed, and disappeared completely off the grid with his daughter. It wasn't just a missed visit anymore. This turned into a full-scale search almost instantly. The FBI, U.S. Marshals, Fort Bend County Sheriff's Office, the Black and Missing Foundation, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children all jumped in, trying to track them down from every possible angle. In September, private investigators actually spotted Cuevas and Truth in Los Angeles, but had to pull back out of concern for the child's safety. Months dragged on, through holidays, through long nights with no answers, and the situation stayed the same. Trey had no idea where his daughter was sleeping, what she was eating, or even what she might have been told about him during all that time.
Man, you just can't give up. Sometimes.
Then came New Year's Day, 2025, 8 in the morning, and everything was about to shift.
It was like 8 in the morning, And the U.S. Marshal said, we found her. We need you to get out here.
Truth was finally found near El Centro, California, right by the Mexico border. Cuevas was arrested on child endangerment charges right there, bringing an end to months of uncertainty in one intense moment. The second Trey got the call, he moved fast, out the door in under 20 minutes, straight to the airport, flying into San Diego, then driving over 100 miles across the California desert just to reach his daughter. That reunion wasn't just emotional, it was something he had been fighting for every single day without stopping. By mid-2025, Truth has been in therapy, taking things one day at a time, while healing LTSD her father. According to Trey, she runs the whole house now in the best way possible, bringing energy and life back into everything. He even bought her a goat, and every morning it reminds him exactly why he never gave up, not even for a second. Now shifting to a case that's way more recent, and honestly, it hits different because it was all caught on camera in broad daylight. This is the kind of situation that makes people stop and really question how something like this can even happen. On July 11, 2025, around 7 p.m., 7-year-old Jamal White Jr. was outside riding his bike near his father's home close to 61st and Huston Street in Milwaukee's Wyrick Park neighborhood. Everything looked normal at first until a white Jeep Renegade started circling the block. It passed once, then came back again. This time it pulled into the driveway and suddenly 2 masked men jumped out, one of them clearly holding a firearm, turning a normal evening into something straight out of a nightmare. They snatched the boy while he screamed for his father, threw him into the back of the Jeep and sped off heading east in seconds. It all happened so fast it barely felt real, like something straight out of a movie. But this was real life. His father, Jamal White Sr., an aspiring local rapper known online as Mall785, was right there when it went down. Security footage showed him reacting in pure shock, running into the house the moment the masked men appeared, then rushing back out, slamming his car trunk in panic and frustration as the Jeep disappeared down the street. By the time he could even process what was happening, his son was already gone, blocks away inside a moving vehicle with no clear destination. Almost instantly, social media lit up, and he faced a wave of backlash from people watching the footage without understanding the full situation. At the same time, he was dealing with something way heavier. His child had just been taken, and nobody knew where he was or what was going to happen next. He later explained, "I ran, I'm thinking they trying to rob me, not take my damn baby," making it clear how quickly everything escalated. His aunt, Simone White, stepped forward with a public plea, asking anyone with information to come forward because the family had no answers and was desperate for help. As investigators dug deeper, the criminal complaint revealed something even more disturbing. The original plan was reportedly to target the boy's mother in a robbery, but when that didn't work out, the suspects switched focus and went after the child instead. They demanded $100,000 in cash along with jewelry in exchange for his safe return, turning it into a full ransom situation. Then, in a sudden turn on July 12, 2025, less than 24 hours after the abduction, Jamal White Jr. was found safe about 7 miles from where he had been taken. A situation that started with chaos and fear ended with relief, but left behind a lot of serious questions that people are still trying to understand. 3 suspects were charged in the case, including 14-year-old Barry Coleman, who was charged as an adult, with his bond set at $100,000. The judge didn't hold back either, stating in court that the entire city of Milwaukee had essentially been on edge for those 24 hours waiting and hoping for a safe outcome. When Jamal finally made it home, Simone White spoke out with raw emotion, saying, "We literally cannot thank the community enough, but if it wasn't for everybody just caring, we probably would not have found him," making it clear how much public support played a role in bringing him back. This was a 7-year-old kid just outside riding his bike near his own home, and in seconds everything changed. The way the community responded showed real unity and urgency, even while the situation itself raised serious concerns about how something like this could happen in the first place. Now shifting to a case that brings a completely different kind of attention. Tekashi 6ix9ine. This one highlights what can come with being one of the most visible and controversial figures in any room, where attention doesn't always come without risk. On the night of November 16, 2025, 4 masked and armed individuals forced their way into Tekashi 6ix9ine's home in Wellington, Florida, located in Palm Beach County. Dressed all in black, they entered through the garage, moving quickly and with clear intent. The first person they came across inside the house was his 60-year-old mother, Natividad Perez Hernandez. She was forced outside under threat, restrained, and kept there, while the others went through the house, taking whatever they could find. They walked away with high-value items, a $25,000 diamond necklace, designer earrings, luxury purses, cash, and more, adding up to tens of thousands of dollars in losses, turning the situation into a terrifying home invasion that hit close to home in every way. They were gone before deputies even made it to the scene, moving fast and leaving almost nothing behind. His mother wasn't physically injured, but moments like that don't just fade. Being threatened like that in your own home leaves an impact no report can ever fully measure. Tekashi wasn't even there when it happened. At the time of the invasion, he was live streaming with YouTuber Jack Doherty, completely unaware of what was unfolding back at his house. Security footage later obtained by TMZ showed exactly how those 4 men moved through the home, step by step, and how they handled his mother during the entire situation. It gave a clear and unsettling look at how everything went down. By December 2025, investigators made progress. A 19-year-old named Pedro Rodriguez was arrested after phone data and recovered stolen items placed him directly at the scene, connecting the dots in a case that had already shaken a lot of people. His charges were serious: home invasion, robbery with a firearm, false imprisonment involving his mother, and grand theft. Then in February 2026, a second arrest followed, showing this case was far from over. While at least 2 more suspects were still out there, people immediately started asking questions. Was this tied to past conflicts? Was it connected to his well-known legal history that's been discussed online for years? Or was this something else entirely? Or maybe it was the result of living such a public, high-profile life, constantly online, constantly visible, sharing every move with millions of people watching closely. Because when everything is put out there, some people don't just watch, they look for opportunities. Whatever the full story turns out to be, one thing is clear. It wasn't him standing in that moment. It was his mother who faced it. A woman who had nothing to do with the attention, the fame, or the decisions that brought that spotlight. She was simply at home, someone who welcomed guests, took care of people, and stayed out of the chaos surrounding her son's public image. Yet she was the one standing outside that night, facing a weapon, caught in something she never signed up for. That's what really stands out in stories like these, not just the headlines or viral moments, but the weight it places on people close to the situation, the ones just trying to support someone they care about. Now shifting to another story that doesn't get talked about enough, even though it goes way back. This happened so early in life that he couldn't even remember it himself. Common, born Lonnie Rashid Lynn Jr. on March 13, 1972 in Chicago, was only about 18 months old when this moment happened. His mother, Mahalia Ann Hines, had him wrapped up in her arms when suddenly she found herself staring straight down the barrel of a firearm, in a situation that could have taken a completely different turn. The man holding that weapon was Common's own biological father, Lonnie Lynn Sr., a former ABA basketball player with the Denver Rockets. But at that point in his life, he was trapped in a cycle of substance abuse that had changed him into someone his own family barely recognized anymore. In Common's 2011 memoir, One Day It'll All Make Sense, he explained that his father had come up with a plan that was detailed, calculated, and completely disconnected from reality. He believed that if he showed up to a basketball tryout looking like a stable family man, with a partner and child by his side, he could earn a spot with the Seattle Supersonics. So he forced them to go with him under threat. He restrained his partner and secured his 18-month-old son in the car, then drove west on Interstate 90 toward Seattle while under the influence, holding control of the situation the entire time, even during stops along the way. Common later described his father as someone who could be deeply caring when sober, but completely different when substances took over. What was happening in that moment reflected the most unstable version of someone who, at his best, clearly cared about his family, but had lost control. And in the middle of all that danger, the only thing keeping that situation from turning into something even worse was his mother. She stayed calm, alert, and focused the entire time, determined to protect her child and find a way to get them both out safely no matter what it took. When she told Lonnie her head was hurting, he walked off to grab something to help with the pain. He came back with pills and a soda, thinking everything was under control, but this is where everything shifted. She took 2 pills like normal, then quietly slipped the rest into his drink without him noticing. While he stood at the gas pump, the effects hit fast. He could barely stay on his feet. Not long after, he pulled into a motel in Wisconsin, completely overwhelmed, and collapsed. The second he went down, she acted immediately. She pushed through the pain, working her hands against the handcuffs until she finally managed to break free, not stopping until she could move. Then she contacted law enforcement right away, ending a situation that could have gone in a much darker direction. Lonnie Lynn Sr. was arrested on the spot and charged with kidnapping and false imprisonment. Whatever future he had in basketball ended right there in that motel parking lot in Wisconsin. Common was later raised mainly by his mother in Chicago's Calumet Heights neighborhood, growing up with the impact of that moment shaping everything around him. Over time, he and his father built a relationship that was complicated but still real. Lonnie Sr. even contributed spoken word pieces to some of Common's albums years later, showing how layered their story became. But when you really think about how close everything came to going completely off track before Common could even speak, it stands as one of the most intense and overlooked survival stories connected to hip-hop. He made it out of that car before he could even form the words, and that moment changed everything. Lil Jon's son, Nathan Smith, also known as DJ Young Slade.
For sure. So yeah, I'm like really talking about how I grew up with my dad and just a lot of experiences that I've had.
That voice you just heard belongs to Nathan Murray Smith, better known as DJ Young Slade, speaking in one of his final recorded public interviews. He was 27 years old, a rapper, producer, DJ, and a graduate of NYU Tisch School of the Arts, with real talent and momentum behind his name. At the time, a Paramount Plus docuseries about his father's legacy was already in the works, and he had a new single getting ready to drop on streaming platforms. Everything in his life pointed forward, full of plans, opportunities, and next steps that were right within reach. But on February 3rd, 2026, something unexpected happened. Nathan ran out of his family home in Milton, Georgia, about 30 miles north of Atlanta, on foot early in the morning. Around 6 a.m., without his phone, Milton police issued a missing person alert, noting that he may have been disoriented and possibly in need of help. What followed was intense. Search teams, K-9 units, community members coming together, vigils being held, his family holding on to hope, and the internet reacting in real time, as it always does in moments like this. Rumors started spreading fast. People online began creating explanations nobody even asked for. Stories about rivals, supposed footage, and wild claims about enemies trying to send a message to Lil Jon all flooded the internet. But here's the truth. None of those claims came from law enforcement, and not a single one was backed by verified sources. It was all noise, all speculation, and none of it reflected what was actually happening. On February 6, 2026, Nathan's body was found in a pond near his family home. Authorities made it clear that foul play was not suspected, and the Fulton County Medical Examiner officially ruled the cause as an accidental drowning, with psilocybin noted in the toxicology report. No kidnapping, no rivals, no hidden plot, just a tragic outcome that had nothing to do with the stories being pushed online.
For the tragic loss of our son Nathan Smith, his mother Nicole Smith and I are very much devastated.
Lil Jon later spoke about his son in a deeply personal way, describing Nathan as the kindest human being you could ever encounter, someone who was passionate, warm-hearted, and genuinely cared about people. He called him an incredibly talented young man and shared that the last time they were together, they made sure Nathan knew exactly how loved he was and how proud they were of him. Words that now carry even more weight after everything that happened. No kidnapping, no enemies, no hidden agendas. Just a young man with his whole life ahead of him who walked out one February morning and never came back. Rest in peace, Nathan Smith. Now shifting to Bizzy Bone, because if that last story felt unreal, what he lived through before music is on a completely different level of disturbing. Bizzy Bone, born Brian Anthony McCain II on September 12, 1976 in Columbus, Ohio, was only 4 years old when everything changed. His mother's ex-husband, a man with no biological connection to him but still access to the home, waited for the right moment. One morning after his mother, Roseanne Jefferson, left for work, he made his move. He took Bizzy, and he didn't stop there. He also took his two older sisters, Hope and Heather, and disappeared with all 3 children. What followed wasn't short-term or temporary. This turned into years. Not 2 weeks, not a couple months, but over 2 full years of being moved around non-stop. The abductor kept relocating them, house to house, apartment to apartment, motel to motel, never staying in one place long enough for anyone to track them down, constantly staying one step ahead and keeping the situation going far longer than anyone could have imagined. He told the children their mother was gone, that she wasn't coming back. He even took away things like holidays, telling them Christmas didn't exist anymore, breaking their sense of reality piece by piece. The abuse didn't stop there. He physically hurt them and worked to tear them down mentally in every way he could. Reports also revealed that people connected to the abductor committed sexual abuse against Bizzy while he was still extremely young, long before he could even process what was happening. A large part of those years was spent on the Cherokee Nation Reservation in northern Oklahoma, which made things even more complicated for law enforcement trying to locate them due to jurisdiction challenges. And then, in a twist that feels almost unbelievable, the rescue came in a way nobody could have predicted. In 1983, a babysitter watching over the children happened to catch the ending of a made-for-TV movie called Adam, based on the case of Adam Walsh. At the very end of that broadcast, there was a missing children segment, and Bizzy's photo appeared on the screen. The babysitter recognized him instantly. Without hesitation, she picked up the phone and called authorities, setting everything into motion. Police moved in, recovered all 3 children, and finally returned them to their mother, ending over 2 years of captivity. For a long time, Bizzy didn't speak publicly about what he went through. It wasn't until 2002 that he opened up on America's Most Wanted, personally thanking the program and encouraging others in similar situations to find the strength to speak out. Even his Bone Thugs and Harmony groupmate Bizzy Bone later shared that he didn't learn about the kidnapping directly from Bizzy, but from watching that same America's Most Wanted segment, leaving the entire group shocked by what he had survived. Bizzy eventually told his full story in his 2012 autobiography, Inside a Bizzy Mind, using writing the same way he had always used music, as a way to process everything he had been through. When you hear those layered harmonies on E1999 Eternal, or the emotion in tracks like The Crossroads, it hits different knowing where that voice came from. That sound, that pain, that depth, it all traces back to a child who spent over 2 of his earliest years in captivity, long before he even knew what rap music was. Now shifting to a much more recent and unsettling situation, NBA YoungBoy's child's mother, Arcola, on February 24th, 2024, she posted something that immediately shocked people online. It looked like a desperate live recording coming from inside the trunk of a moving vehicle. The screen was completely black, but her voice said everything. She sounded terrified, panicked, and struggling to stay calm. She was heard saying she couldn't breathe, that she had no idea where the car was going, and even more disturbing, whoever had taken her didn't seem to realize she still had her phone hidden on her.
I cannot breathe. I don't know where they're going. I just know I woke up in this fucking truck.
And all of this unfolded fast. In under an hour, things were already escalating in a way that had people watching in real time unsure of what was going to happen next. Every major hip-hop platform went into overdrive the moment that clip dropped. Fans were tagging NBA YoungBoy nonstop, and his comment sections filled up with real panic and fear from people who thought they were witnessing something serious unfold. The video spread across social media instantly, jumping from app to app like a shockwave that nobody could slow down.
Yeah, everybody can unfollow me. I don't even really be on this page like that.
But then everything shifted. Later that same day, Arcola came back online with a follow-up that caught people off guard. She looked calm, almost too calm, and confirmed that she was completely fine, shutting down the fear that had been building for hours. She even pointed out that the people closest to her never reacted publicly, hinting that they already knew she wasn't in danger the whole time. Then just 2 days later, during a Twitter Spaces conversation, the full truth came out.
And like I said, I apologize for the ones who were genuinely concerned.
She admitted it was a prank that went too far, something that spiraled way beyond what she expected. One of the people in that same Spaces didn't hold back either, calling the whole situation childish and urging her to stop putting out content like that, especially with the size of her audience. And when everything was said and done, there was no police report, no arrest, no investigation, and no real connection to any of NBA YoungBoy's known conflicts or issues. What started as a single clip turned into a viral moment that spread way further than it was ever supposed to. And the reason this story sits at the start of this list isn't to drag it, it's to highlight something specific, something that becomes clear once you see how fast things can spiral when the line between real danger and viral content gets blurred. The internet is already wired for stories like this, especially when it comes to rappers and their families being targeted, chased, or taken. So when something looks real enough, it can send people into panic mode within minutes, and honestly, you can see why that happens. That footage felt believable. The darkness, the panic in her voice, even the detail about the hidden phone, it all sounded way too real, way too specific to ignore. Arcola herself has said she can act impulsive when the camera is on, and before this that kind of energy worked in her favor, but this time it went way too far and hit a nerve that people couldn't just brush off. She walked away safe, but not every story on this list ends like that, and that's the part that really sticks with you. If you made it this far, tap into more stories like this right now. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, and drop a comment with your thoughts because these stories deserve to be talked about.